Hi there, welcome to some more indie author confessions. Things that I've been working on for the last week or so. I just wrote down some points here. Um, the one thing I did that I didn't want to do, it was like pulling teeth. I was trying to procrastinate as best I could, is reconcile my books. I try to do it, after every show or in between if I do a lot of purchasing in between shows, just to make sure that I don't get too far behind on uploading all my receipts and whatnot. So I reconciled my books with my statements, make sure all my money balances, double check my inventory. It's good to do that as, close to the end of the quarter. So you could do it as of, end of March or whatever. Just to touch base that you're not trying to scramble to get everything done at the end of the year. If you check it periodically throughout the year, it does make it less of a headache at the end of the year. It still doesn't make it fun. I use a software called Wave, WAVE, and basically it's a free accounting software, so you can put in all your journal accounts and track everything, and you can attach and upload receipts to that. You can also link your Wave accounting software to pull information from a credit card statement or a bank statement, so that it will kind of automatically generate all of that into your ledger. And then you just have to go through and double check. And if you want to make any notes for what the purchase was for or what you were doing or what, then you can make those notes and then attach a receipt to that and then mark it as completed so that you know that you've already checked and double checked that. It makes a nice profit and loss statement for you. So if you are wanting to apply for loan or provide any of that information for any other financial reasons on your profit and loss statement. I realize that a lot of indie authors don't necessarily do these things. I would recommend doing it because you need to know how much money that you're pouring into it and how much money that you're making. You need to know whether you're in the red or whether you're in the black. I see a lot of authors at the table, the vendor show, saying that they made table. I question sometimes how they're arriving at making table. Did your sales cover the table cost? And if they did you minus the actual cost of the books too? So looking at, did you cover the cost of the books and the table with your revenue? So you have to determine whether or not doing certain events is worth purchasing the table. If you don't have enough sales to cover the cost of your materials and the booth space, you're actually losing money on the deal instead of profiting. So you might look to different events, or maybe you want to share that event like Trevor and I do a lot. And it helps to cover those expenses if you have a really slow show, especially if you're doing one for the first time and you just really don't know how it's going to work out. Sometimes sharing with somebody can help out. But that's enough on that. Moving on, we're talking about shows, so we can go right into Origins. You're probably really tired of hearing me talk about it and drone on and on. But it is the biggest show of the year, and it's the first time doing it, so I'm a little stressed out about it. I worked this past week on, I have a Cricut, so I cut vinyl decals, kind of nerdy and gamey decals to sell for lower price point items, so we don't just have books at our booth. Trevor and I have books. We have coffee. I make glitter tumblers. He makes mugs. I do decals. His wife Julie does jewelry. We're trying to make sure that we have a variety of price points in our booth, and a variety of deals that's going to maximize our sales in that particular market. So I was cutting and weeding vinyl and packaging and pricing vinyl decals, updating signage for the booths, just making sure that I have the correct up-to-date pricing and that I have it in a really nice format that looks professional. Same thing with the packaging on the decals. You want everything to look professional. You don't want to look like you just threw it all together and threw it in a box and smacked it on the grid wall. It needs to look professional. Put your best foot forward. I've been working on the booth design and elements, like with the signage and whatnot, and kind of thinking where and how things will be displayed. We are using a checkout stand. I have one here or something here that I kind of repurposed for that. But I took some time to kind of clean it up and make some modifications to it, so it kind of fits our needs. It needed a shelf in it. I cut a shelf and put it in there so that we can store things like the shopping bags, any of our checkout materials can go in there, bags, and anything other kind of promotional extra business cards. That's kind of like your little storage area in the booth. So things to think about. We did have yesterday was the Zoom to do the Origins booth selection. So our booth name is actually Mystic Tomes and Treasures. That's the partnership between myself, Trevor, and Julie. We have booth number 749, and we got it right next to Limitless Adventures, who is kind of an ally and friend. You know, we did Lexicon, which is their game convention, and we do several other conventions with them in this general market area. So, you know, it'll be nice to be next to somebody who, I mean, they did Origins for the first time last year, so maybe they can kind of walk us through, you know, some of the things that they learned last year. Andy says that he found some great places to eat last year, so he can't wait to take us, but I think we need to bring our fat pants apparently because the food is so delicious. So I can't wait for more on that. We do have to modify our booth design. I did discover during that meeting that, so they're 10 by 10 booths. You have the back of the booth, which doesn't have any restrictions, but the sides of the booth, for the first half of the booth, so for 5 feet, you can, you know, we can use our 6-foot grid wall, but then beyond that, the additional 5 feet forward, it can't be any higher than 4. So I'm trying to work something out with them that maybe we can still use the grid wall. We will just only go up to the 4 feet when we place product. So we're not, the basic principle of it is not to block, you know, the booth next to you, so that the people walking down the aisle can see what they have in their booth. And so we want to be careful. I don't want to upset anybody that's on either side. Now, Limitless is on one side, and they're pretty easygoing, but I am going to check with them first just to make sure they're okay with it. And we are going to set up for HeroCon, and I'm going to send pictures to Origins of the booth setup and make sure that it meets their requirements. You know, I don't want to do anything. You don't want to break the rules on your first year and maybe not be invited back the next year. Or, yeah. So being really careful to make sure that we're staying within their parameters and meeting all their guidelines. On writing notes, I got a little bit of editing done, not a lot. I am almost done. Trevor's finished his final edits, and I am finishing up. I'm a little bit more than halfway through. This is the Diamonds Collector's Edition, you know, so if you're collecting all of the Realm of Thrall books, the final installation of at least the character introductions will be out here pretty soon. We're getting really close on that. I will finish it up this week or this weekend for sure, because, you know, get the lead out of my ass and get it done. So I've been sitting on it for too long. The other thing is kind of, I don't like not ending on a positive note, but the Kickstarter for the Realm of Thrall Stones game has been a little disappointing. It's made me a little discouraged. I keep running ads, and I keep pushing promotions, and I keep trying to set up interviews, and I'm just I'm having a hard time finding any kind of traction or the right audience for that. It is original work, and I think that's part of the issue. It's original work, original project, original concept. So it has no initial backing, if you will. Now, the last Kickstarter that I did, was a 5th edition RPG. And that one funded no problem. It actually went above and beyond the goals that I set for it. However, you're kind of piggybacking off of that 5e community, which is rather large, and they have a commanding presence on Kickstarter. So that kind of did me some favors there. This, I don't really have that. It's just kind of a standalone. So it's just hoping that the right person sees it, that the right person shares it. If all of you can help me out and share it, that would be great, and see if we can get some more eyes on it. Like I said, I'm running Facebook ads, sending out emails, trying to get interviews set up, and I just can't get any traction on it. At this rate of funding, it is unlikely to fund at this point in time, which means that there may not be a mobile app for the Stones game, but there will still be a Stones game because I've already ordered inventory for that. So, it is what it is. I'm going to make it work regardless, but the mobile app portion of it might just be placed on hold until I can find the funding. So if I can't raise it through Kickstarter, I'll just have to find another way to do it. And that's all there is to it. So that's kind of what I've been working on so far. I mean, next week I'll probably continue to work on origins preparations, projects around the home. A lot of my projects around the home are stemmed around the fact that with the business growing as it is, space for inventory is starting to become an issue. You can't see all the junk that is just everywhere behind me. There's more over there that you can't see. I've done a pretty good job of keeping everything organized, but at the same time, as I add, more books and art and decals and tumblers and, coffee, you keep adding these things on and storage space starts to become an issue. So I'm kind of juggling some things and renovating some areas in my home to maybe help to accommodate some of these materials as my business grows. Maybe one day I'll just upsize and buy a bigger house so I have more storage room. But for right now, I'm kind of stuck with what I've got, and I've got to make it work. So I do have to kind of take some time out from the writing and the editing and those authory type things to actually, roll up my sleeves and get some things done around the house so that I can make everything work. So I hope this has been an informative session about the other things associated with being an indie author. If you have any questions or anything that you ever want to talk about, feel free to drop them in the chat or send me an email. More than happy to talk about anything. If you want to know, what certain software I use for something, or how I manage my inventory, or maybe what storage I actually have and what I found that works and what's a nightmare. I've tried a lot of different things. Some things work, some things don't. But until next week, see ya.